What if there are exercises that could boost your confidence and make sex better? How would your self esteem change if you felt more in control of your body? What if there are certain muscles you could strengthen and they could boost your intimacy and your pleasure? Welcome to Session and Secrets.
And it's my belief that a therapist who works with couples who is not...
It also impacts like new moms, right? Sometimes we think, oh, that's something that happens later in life.
If they can't heal from that, the man's not going to have the same experience that he was having. So he's saying, my wife's not paying attention to me. And
what exercises?
They wouldn't walk out of the house if they had a baby bump, because that would show the world that they had just had.
My guest today is my friend, mentor, and colleague, Jennifer Duke. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Luisa. I'm so happy to be here. We've had many adventures over the last 10 or 15 years, so this is just great that we get to do this together.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here with you. Tell me about yourself.
I'm a psychotherapist. I work a lot with couples, and it's my belief that a therapist who works with couples who is not well-versed in some of the literature about sex is doing malpractice. In order to make a couple feel happy with you as a therapist and comfortable, they have to trust that you can go in the conversation wherever they need to go. And if it's about sex, they need to know that you're not going to shy away from that topic and that you will confidently lead them through some of their challenges in that area.
Yes, and sometimes we focus so much on like physical health, especially strengthening our core,
right,
Jennifer. But then we forget about other muscles.
Right. Okay. So everybody's all excited about strengthening their core. Yoga is about the core. So many of our exercises are about the core, but there's something that's more important than the core. If you're building a house, I would think you would put the floor first. So the pelvic floor is what needs to be strengthened most. And there are about 6 muscles down there that are really important in supporting your genitals and your digestive system. So it's really important to support the pelvic floor. It's at the bottom of your trunk. That's where you need to be strong.
Right. So like the foundation.
It's the foundation.
And how does incontinence affect sex and intimacy?
Well, in so many ways. As a baby boomer, I know that some people shy away from sex if they're incontinent. They just won't engage because, I mean, if you're going to take your clothes off and you don't have the paper products there to protect the bed, then you're not going to have sex. It's going to be very embarrassing for you. So it's really important to know that you can actually engage and get in the arena and have sex with your partner without being embarrassed. It also goes into other areas of your life. You cannot go into a big box store if you need to know where the bathrooms are, or you cannot go to Japan on the airplane. There's so many things that are impacted by incontinence. It's unbelievable. So I mean, if you've got a white couch, as we saw a few moments ago, you can't sit on a white couch if you're afraid that there's going to be a problem. And it's not just urinary incontinence, that the pubococcygeus muscle supports vaginal and also fecal, the anus. So you're protecting the urinary incontinence as well as fecal incontinence. So that gets really embarrassing if that's what's happening. So it's very important that you be able to have continence for so many reasons.
Yeah, and it also impacts like new moms, right? Sometimes we think, oh, that's something that happens later in life, but it could also impact, that at a young age.
Right. And it is, the important thing to remember about that is in the first year after the baby is born, that's when 20% of the couples break up. That is the hardest year of a couple's life. So the man has been ignored for like a few months because the mother is so focused on her body and the baby. The baby gets born, the mother's focus is on the baby. Then the couple heals enough and they try to have sex, and then the sex doesn't feel the same to the man. So it takes 6 months to a year after the birth of a baby, even if it's a C-section, because the baby has been pushing down on that hammock. So pubococcygeus is the right word. And it has been pushing down on the pubococcygeus muscle. And if you want to take it for short, a shorter version of that, just say the PC muscle. It's been pushing down on that. And so if they can't heal from that, the man's not going to have the same experience that he was having. So he's saying, my wife's not paying attention to me and the sex is no good. What am I doing here? I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important. I know young mothers have so many things on their mind, but one of the most important things is as soon as you give birth to get in there and do some what we call Kegel exercises, which are exercises that squeeze those muscles of the pelvic floor. And I think one of the things we had talked about was the Kegel exercises by themselves sometimes are not impactful enough. So we need to do something in addition to just the plain ordinary Kegels to make the muscle stronger.
Yeah, like what exercises?
Okay, so if you're doing bicep curls, then if you're just doing your fist, that's a certain amount of weight. But we don't see weightlifters just using their body weight for most exercises. They're using some kind of weights. So one of the ways is using weights. And that is something I like a whole lot. Some kind of resistance. Back in the day, 20 years ago, I was using something that was a kind of a triangular shape and squeezing on that. I got a lot of benefit out of that in my 50s. Another thing that's come along in recent years are some electrostimulation devices. And don't think you're getting electrical shock. You're getting kind of a little bit of a buzz that exercises and contracts the muscles themselves so that you don't have to work so hard. So it's a passive exercise. But for my preference is just the weights that a person can lift, squeeze vaginal muscles, the PC muscles, and lift those. And at the end of it, you're feeling like you've gotten a workout. It's as good a workout as whatever else you do in the gym. You feel exercised, and you feel exercised in a place that you don't normally exercise. We should not ignore this area.
Yeah, and especially I think it helps you stay connected with your body, right? Too, right. That when you're doing that whole process, which is what helps be connected to yourself and to your body when it comes to intimacy with your partner. Right. And we would also talked about statistics of just incontinence.
Oh yeah.
What are the numbers?
All right. So 51 to 75% of women 65 and older have issues of incontinence. And I'm a baby boomer. Mm-hmm. I'm in my 8th decade of life. And people I know are doing a really good job of filling up landfills with products for incontinence. Mm-hmm. And for the issue of protecting the earth, we have a responsibility to get our muscles to be strong enough so that we don't need those products. It's one thing for diapers to go into the landfill, but there's a New Zealand study that was saying that by 2030, there are going to be 4 to 10 times more adult incontinence products going into landfills than baby diapers. So it's important to keep that in mind when you're thinking about, we do have a responsibility to our environment, and if it makes our relationship to our body better at the same time, then it's a win-win.
Yes, of course, right? But then maybe we don't pay attention to our pelvic floor health,
right?
And so it's just we're not taking care of it, and therefore we're just getting.
It's really important to get a handle on it early on. There's 2 kinds of incontinence. There's stress incontinence and urge incontinence. Now, I'm going to tell a story on you. Right?
Just one?
Just
today?
Just one. Okay. So, remember when we went to Cave Creek?
Yes.
And we were hiking along, and we're saying, "Oh my gosh, this is so
Peaceful.
it's so peaceful." So here we are in the Arizona desert, these beautiful saguaro, big old cacti out, and then we're thinking, "Oh, it's so peaceful. We're having such a good time."
And we saw a deer,
Yeah,
right?
we saw a deer, and then all of a sudden there's this like rattle, right? And there the thing is, and it's coiled up and ready to strike on us, right? So one of us, I'm not sure which one, lost continence, okay? Not only did I lose continence, but I tripped on a rock and I fell. I couldn't push my arms up, and the rattler is still going like this. I couldn't get up, and I couldn't get up, and I couldn't get up. So also, like there was a movie, Mate One, where a young man was had a gun pointed at him and he lost continence. So, that's called urge incontinence if you have a fear. Stress incontinence is what people had during COVID because everybody's coughing and sneezing or laughing. That could be stress incontinence. So usually, it might be not so much volume if you have stress incontinence, but if you have urge incontinence and all of a sudden you have a thought, oh, I should go to the bathroom, and all of a sudden it's urgent, then it's really important to get that taken care of, because that might be more than a few drops. I want to talk about something I forgot to mention to you yesterday, which is I had some old lady friends who were on a tour, and they had traveler's diarrhea. So they had this thing that they were doing, which got them through the bus tour down in South America. And they took their hands and they rubbed it up the sides of their legs. And that actually helped prevent having to go having to go to the bathroom right that second. Gave them a few more minutes, or another 35 minutes until they could get to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing can be useful for urinary incontinence. It actually can help give you another 3 minutes, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, which really matters if you're in the middle of like I say, a big box store, or you're in the middle of a new airport that you don't know where the bathrooms are. Then it's that is something that I think would help in the moment.
Yeah, like something soothing to your body, like touch.
It's something that
Mm-hmm.
is some kind of mechanism that holds things together for a moment longer.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes we think, oh, wait, this is a women's issue.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
but incontinence affects also men. Tell me about that.
So it's about half. Men, when you get into the 80s, 70s, and 80s, men, usually women have more an issue with incontinence than men do. But in the 60s, 70s, 80s, then it turns out that men have about half the issues that women do. And especially with men, it's after some kind of a prostate problem that they would tend to have more of an issue.
And what do you think? Why is there such maybe shame or lack of just communication, or we don't really talk about these issues?
Right. Well, I mean, my grandmother was born in the 1890s, right? I mean, I go back. I mean, if I'm 70, my grandparents were born way before that, and they wouldn't walk out of the house if they had a baby bump, because that would show the world that they had just had sex. I don't know what happens when the children appear, but if in their world, you don't show a baby bump. So we've come a long way from that. But children get trained not to make certain gestures or not touch their body in a certain way. And so they get the message that, oh, there's something wrong with that part of my body. Not that, oh, I should be careful and not behave a certain way, but it goes a step further, and you say, "Oh, that part of my body is not okay." So, and also, our body is a wonderful machine that produces all kinds of products that clean our body. So these things come out of our body, and sometimes there's a smell or something, and people think that their bodies are gross. They're not. All of our bodies are wonderful, and we should have gratitude for all the parts of our bodies, especially our cleaning machines, and they're sometimes not pleasant for everybody. So somehow the kids get the message that, can't talk about that. Oh, can't do anything about that. Even though people walk around with short skirts, very, very short skirts sometimes for sorority pledge people, at the local schools. But still, there's always shame about the unseen world, which is, included, hidden in our clothing.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like unconscious, right? We integrated that in our bodies,
Yeah.
and we don't really we're not even aware that we have maybe shame,
Yeah. There's
right?
self-shame, self-contempt around anything having to do with genitals.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the like sexual benefits of working on those muscles?
Right. Okay. So for men, they can have longer erections. They can have more control. They can choose when ejaculation is going to occur. There are a lot of benefits with that. And for women, they can have longer and more intense and more frequent orgasms. And also for both genders, you can feel more at home in your body and you have more control. You have more awareness of what is going on, so you have more control of how you're moving and what you're doing with various muscles. So your proprioception, or your awareness of what those 6 muscles are doing down there, is more aware, so you can be more sophisticated about how you work your muscles, and that can bring a lot of pleasure to your partner.
Yeah, it's like that connection, right? That the connection with your body,
Right.
And like you said, how you described it.
Yeah. So there's more intensity, more frequency, more sophistication in the way you move. One of the things that people talk about, there's a woman in Russia who broke the world record for how much weight she could lift with her with her vagina, and it was 32 pounds. There are other people who are very present on social network sites with lifting chandeliers.
Wow.
Do not try this at home. This is not something you go out and do.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't become a bodybuilder overnight and start lifting 400 pounds. You don't lift more than, like a few ounces. If you're, when you're starting out, a little bit of weight, lifting a little bit of weight by putting a polypropylene egg into your vagina, and then fitting, and then a string hangs down, and then putting a weight around this little ball at the end of this little egg with a string on it. That is just a little bit of weight is great, and doing a little bit of exercise is all you have to do. The companies that sell exercise products say, oh, you have to do it 2 times a day for 20 minutes a day. That's not true. If you do a little bit on one day, on 1 month, you're going to be better. I mean, I was going to Japan this year, and when I came back, I had done a little bit of exercise before I went, just like one session, not like weeks of Kegel exercise, or assisted Kegel exercises. I got on the plane. I was exhausted. The 2 people beside me were sleeping, and I couldn't get up for the whole trip. I could have stepped over them and awakened them, but for 15 hours I sat there. So it is possible to have that much control. So, it's just important for all-round health and just for convenience.
Yeah. And how does being in control of your body and having that attunement with yourself, how does that boost confidence?
Well, I mean, okay, when you think about men who walk down the street and they've got a certain swagger, right? They have a confidence that they know that they can please somebody, right? That's confidence. They know what they can do with their body. And it's the same thing for women. We don't say that we have swagger, but it's a matter of being more relaxed. If you know what your body can do, and you can work your muscles a certain way, and you know what your muscles can do because you've been doing the exercises, then you're going to be more relaxed and more present with your partner, and you're going to be good with that person, and have your own confidence. And there's nothing sexier than confidence and relaxation.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Especially everybody says, right? Men and women always say, whenever I ask, like, what do you desire, or what do you like in your partner? And or they desire their partner to be confident.
Right.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's like asking a bike rider, what do they want for Christmas? And they say, I want more heart and lungs, And it's like, what do you want for your sex life? I want more relaxation and confidence, and pelvic floor strength.
Yes. And so, what do you think, what do you, how do you think this becomes like an issue with couples? The having issues with incontinence or with their relationship. How do you think that impacts their relationship?
Oh, I mean, so many ways. If a man is, all men fail to maintain an erection at some point in their life. People claim that they don't, but our statistics show that that's not true. So if you want to have that failure be less frequent, if you fail once, then you lose confidence for a moment, right? So if you know you're doing things to boost your strength, your control, and you know that you will be able to maintain erections longer because your exercise has shown you that gradually this is increasing, this part of your body is getting better, that you can maintain erections longer, and also delay ejaculation longer, then you're going to feel better about yourself. The same for women. If you know that you can have really good, strong orgasms because now that you've been doing this exercise, you're getting stronger and more frequent and better, you walk into a situation with each other, sharing that with each other, then you're going to have, both of you are going to be more confident. But let's not just talk about partnered sex. It also makes better with self-pleasure. So if you're having an experience with solo sex, then you also are having more fun. So it's not just how you feel with your partner, it's how you feel about yourself and how much fun you're having in life. So we need to think about it both ways. And we're talking about male-female, but it also goes for same-sex couples. So we need to keep in mind that in all kinds of relationships, this is going to enhance things. One of the things, Luisa, I think I wanted to stress is that the thing that worked for me the best, I really just want to stress this, was the weights. And I mean, if there was one message I wanted to give more than anything else today, is that using weights to strengthen Kegels will make the process go faster. If you don't use the weights and you're just standing at the bank and you're squeezing to try to, as if you're stopping a stream of urine, that will be good. That's fine for while you're standing at the bank. But if you want to make sure that you know that you're going to get better, faster, and again, especially for young moms, brand new moms, right? That's an emergency. Those folks need to get back in shape as quickly as they can because there's a lot of threat to the relationship just because of the circumstances, the extraordinary circumstances that folks go through. So if you want to do it faster and better, then you need to do it with either the weights, which I prefer. I hear that the electrical pulsing is the fastest way. But I really, for me, I think the weights are a really good way to go. And the other thing is, if you see progress, you will keep on exercising. If you're just doing straight ahead Kegels, you're not going to see enough progress to want to keep going. So I think it's really important to be able to see your progress so that you're encouraged to keep it up.
Yes. And what about for men? What would you recommend?
Well, that would be another discussion. I'm not that much in tune with exactly what are the exercises for men, but I do know that Kegels help. Everybody's got a pelvic floor. So the other thing is that using the resource of a physical therapist is a great way to go. The surgery thing is not ideal, but the pelvic floor physical therapist can help both men and women, and they're specially trained in this area, so they can help folks with showing them how to do the exercises and standing by them while they're doing the exercise and giving encouragement. And if you do a 50-minute or an hour physical therapy session, you do feel exercised. Yeah. So it's important to know that you have this resource of the physical therapist, and your insurance pays for it. And your insurance pays for some of these devices too. Certain insurances, certain devices. So keep that in mind.
Yes, and that's a physical, right? The going to exercise your body, and that would be a physical thing. But then there's also sex therapy, right, to address issues related to this.
Well, I think it's important because if you go talk to your doctor, that's why sex therapists are so important, because they can slow it down and you can talk about exactly what's going on. The sex therapist is a talk therapist. It's important to know that it's not a surrogate. The sex therapist is not in the bedroom with the people. Although when I do Zoom sessions, half of my couples are, you see their headboard, and half of them you see the couch. So, they just go wherever they need to go to get privacy from their kids to have a couples therapy. But the sex therapist will take longer and work on the issue with them. One of the things is to keep in mind that sex therapists, the motto this year for the ASECT conference, American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists, the motto is, their theme this year was, everyone deserves good sex. And I think it's important that everyone deserves to have urinary continence and fecal continence. So there might be people who have never touched the inside of their body, barely being able to use toilet paper because they're so ashamed, right? So I walked into a store, and this woman is now deceased, but she was a nun, and she had incontinence. And it was wonderful because the person in the store who was helping us was pregnant. So we had all these types of being and all these ways of constructing a lifestyle. But it's important to remember that some people would not be able to get a polypropylene egg of any size into their body. So they're, like an inch and a half long, maybe, 3/4 across. And so you need that encouragement. It might take 2 months to get past the pain part, to be able to get one of those polypropylene eggs into your body so you can start either squeezing around it before you even start to use the weights. So I walked in there with the ex-nun who's now deceased, and the lady at the sex store was so helpful. I mean, she's pregnant, compassionate, and the nun couldn't afford any of these devices because nuns, they take they're not about accumulating
money.
wealth, right? And so we did a workaround so that she wouldn't have to pay so much money to do that. For instance, we used instead of buying some kind of lubrication at the sex store, we were using coconut oil from the kitchen, which is a perfectly okay lubricant. You don't have to buy the Kim Ayers, who has talks about pleasure, talks about you don't have to clean your devices. And by the way, the polypropylene eggs have to be very, 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 very clean. And because if they're not, you might get a little bit of a bladder infection or something, and then you will be incontinent, because having a little bit of infection of some kind can be another cause for incontinence. So we did the workaround with the oil. We did the workaround with just using an antibacterial soap rather than spending money on the more expensive lubrication. And then we found things at home to be able to use as weights. So we used padlocks, little ones, and so and tied those onto the little tail of the polypropylene eggs. So this does not have to be something where you spend, $79.99 for a product. There are ways to get strong without contributing so much money to it.
Okay. Well, thank you for all this information, Jennifer. And where can people find you if they want to know more about you?
Jennifer Duke Therapist at .com. And I'm licensed in 4 states. I'm going to have Washington in just a moment. So live in Arizona, or online, and online in California, Arizona, Texas, New York, and soon to be Washington State.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And it was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Our pelvic floor health is deeply connected to how we experience intimacy, confidence, and pleasure. By breaking the taboo and seeking support, we are improving our sexual health and our mental well-being. Thank you for joining us on Session and Secrets. Please make sure to like, subscribe, or leave a comment down below.